Innovation is important, and probably anyone will support this statement. However, do you really want new ideas in your organization? Because let's face it, between the wish and reality, there's often a huge gap that we see in consultancy or in any other kind of context, including scientific research. Organizations say that they want to have new ideas, and they say innovation is really important. It is of central importance for our future and the sustainability and the competitive advantage we might have. However, the way organizations act and how the leaders in these organizations act does not always align with the idea of innovation is important. And of course, you might now say, yeah, well, innovation is expensive. And, even when someone find something new, you can always just join the market. And yes, that's true. You don't have to be a first mover. First mover means that, of course, you can gain new market share very quickly, that you have an innovative idea. Other people have to run after you. However, you don't have to be a first mover. That's absolutely correct. However, for some organizations, it's not even about that. When we look into reports, what people say who work for organizations, they say it's not only not being the first one, it's not even being the second one, it's not even being innovative at all or showing any kind of innovation. And that's what we need to talk about today. Do you really want new ideas? How should you deal with innovation in your organization? I give you a couple of examples. And the first one is probably the most famous one, Kodak. Remember Kodak? When you had a photo camera, I had one where you had to buy these small tins where a film was in there that you had to bring to a certain shop to develop it. So many people in the supply chain made money from it. Kodak was the company that invented digital photography. An engineer inside Kodak developed digital photography. And when he presented the idea to management said, no, we are not interested in that because we sell these little film tins and we're going to do so in the future. Well, we all see how it went. When you try to find Kodak today, they are far away from where they were before. It also means that they went through bankruptcy. And let's see, they came back from that, but they are far away from where they were before because they weren't the only one researching on digital photography, and that means someone else took over the market and they were too slow to join. And that is not the only example, because often people say, yeah, it's always the Kodak example every single time. Do you have any other idea? Yes, I have other concepts, other cases. Blockbuster, for example. For the people who are not working internationally, Blockbuster was a store where you went and you could then rent videos. For example, you wanted to see a certain film, you didn't want to buy it, so you could rent it for a number of days or just for that one evening. You even had to rewind, or you paid a bit extra afterwards. And in the very early days of Netflix, they contacted Blockbuster and said, let's partner up. You have films on site. We have films and series and TV shows online. Partner up so we get the most of the market. Blockbuster said, no, we are not interested because we rent out movies that people take home. Online means they only book online, so why should they go to our store? Well, we all see where Netflix is today, highly profitable international global corporation. We all see where Blockbuster is, and Blockbuster is nowhere. They are done. It's completely, it just ended. They were bankrupt a couple of years ago, came back a couple of times. There was this very last famous store somewhere in the US, the very last Blockbuster store, which changed their whole business model completely. However, Blockbuster itself is done. It's gone. The brand doesn't exist anymore. Just imagine where Blockbuster could have been if they had said, look, we have on-site stores and the online option. What could you have made out of that from developing that position? A lot, but they denied to do so. And by the way, the management, the executives denied to do so. Another example is Nokia or BlackBerry. When people said, hey, you can have the keyboard on the screen, and they said, no, not for us. Well, obviously users wanted to have that. BlackBerry is still there, but not very big, below 1% market share. And Nokia is probably close to non-existent. They now bring back a couple of phones for nostalgia, but not really as a market competitor to any kind of large corporation. Samsung, of course, and Apple said, thank you very much, we take the market from you. So when you have the market under control, someone else takes it, you can be sure it has not been the employee's fault. Management and executives failed miserably. Another example, if you think of Xerox, what do you think of? And most people will say, well, photocopies, don't they? A printer photocopies these kind of machines in the office. Yes, and then they do that, and they're very good at that. However, in the 1970s, they developed at Palo Alto, which you probably heard in the context of Silicon Valley. They invented the graphical user interface, which you probably know from products like Windows 95 and later, so not a small product. They invented the computer mouse, and they invented the personal computer, including personal computers with a potential for home usage. They didn't commercialize on any of these ideas because leaders denied to invest in them any further. Yeah, let's go for the final. Yahoo, you still know that Yahoo is around. They found a certain marketplace for themselves. At least they are doing reasonably well. Still, Google offered themselves to Yahoo. So Google said, Yahoo, would you please buy us for less than $1 billion? And, well, they said, no, that price is way too expensive. Just do whatever you do. We keep on being Yahoo. Well, we see how things went. Google is a global market leader with a market share that probably is beyond the 70, 80, 90% share. And Yahoo is somewhere in a certain niche, but not very big anymore. Big problem that the management thought they are too great to work with others. And by the way, my industry is not any different. I, fortunately, due to my employers after university, fortunately due to them, I saw the online world very quickly, and I saw that collaborating online is important. We started doing that with ISDN and bundled ISDN lines with DSL and whatnot, far away from the fiber world we have today. And we even deliver training and coaching for doctors via that means, all online without the travel. And I remember vividly how people in 2003 and even later told me, oh, online it doesn't work, it's not possible, clients don't want that. And my favorite was, I don't work like that. I only work live with people when I meet them. I deny to work any different. Amazing. When the vendor tells the client what they need to like. Well, I started to offer online services very early, and especially when the pandemic came, we were ready to go. Others had to start from the scratch. Very important here, my industry was not any different in many areas. However, I have to say, by coincidence, not due to my brain or my genius, nothing of that. By pure coincidence, my company was ready to compete from the very beginning. About 75% of the market, of my market competitors, or let's say other vendors accompanying companies on the market, denied to invest in this technology early, and they left the market during the pandemic. Thank you for your reluctance to staying up to date. So how to deal with that? So first, when you say we have ideas in the organization, the question always is, how do I get the ideas to be public? How do I make someone speak up? How am I able to have some sort of suggestion scheme? And that's exactly what you need, a suggestion scheme, including, let's say, a company suggestion plan, a suggestion scheme where employees, team members can put ideas forward. Very important here, they need to be compensated accordingly when they put things in practice. So that means when you have an amazing idea where you make a lot of money from, these people must be paid royally. And by the way, when you now say, oh, I can't pay the average employee that probably doesn't even have a university degree, some high school person, can't pay them $500,000. Well, when they give you a 10 million idea, you better give them 1 million out of that, at least for a one-off payment, or you give them a certain royalty, choose any of that. But when you say, oh yeah, we have a suggestion scheme, and now I quote from real examples, some of them where companies saved hundreds of thousands of dollars, paid $500 one-off fee, or my personal favorite, a $50 Amazon voucher as a return. And you wonder why people stop to put innovation forward. I give you an idea, because you cash in on them and you are ungrateful. You show the most extreme example of catastrophic leadership possible. So when you have this suggestion scheme, that is just the start. What you need on the next level is innovation forums. And innovation forums need a certain structure. You can't just say, oh, we have innovation forum once a quarter, show up if you have time. Well, when you look at today's staffing levels and the shortage of talent on the market, most people will say, I would love to go there. However, I don't have time because we are short on staff. You need to give people time, designated time, and say, every single department that is important in the supply chain needs to send someone to be there. And by the way, very important, they need to have dedicated time for the innovation forum. Way too often, I sat in an innovation forum, every department sent someone, they were clearly not interested, they were clearly not listening, often they had nothing to say, and they sat in the meeting on their laptop doing emails, while someone else presented a probably amazing idea. So either you do it properly or you step away from being an innovative company. That's your choice. And of course, no matter if it's a suggestion scheme or an innovation forum, not all of that needs to be brought to practice. However, when you want to be on the very frontier of innovation, you need open R&D, open research and development. You can either have targeted R&D where you already have a certain idea in mind, most likely because some client told you, oh, if you could do that, that would be amazing, and then you develop the solution for that. But open R&D also means you research for something where you're not sure if it works. And sometimes it might be the case that they say, look, we did open R&D and the result is it's not working. We tried everything, but it's not economically viable, technically viable, or both. And that is part of open R&D. And I now already know what some people will say. Some people will say, look, we have shareholders, we have investors, and they wouldn't like if we spent money like that. No problem. If you don't want it, don't do it. But please then do not claim that you take part in any kind of innovation. You might be a company that waits for innovation, see it on the market, and then copy it, which is, of course, also a viable option. However, when you say that you have a valid idea of something new and great on the market, time to market is crucial, and so are the budgets. You have to give them budget because time to market is crucial to get the market share first. I give you a very simple example. When you want to text people, and I don't mean the text service you have to pay for. When you want to text people for free via the internet, what do you use? And most likely will come to the conclusion, well, I think WhatsApp. Yeah. Are there others? Oh, yes. Numerous other apps. There's WhatsApp. There is Signal, which is completely open source, by the way. There is Threema. There is Telegram. There are numerous other vendors out there. However, WhatsApp was first, and that's how they got the market share. It's very important that you look at the budget you invest and the time to market you assume. The more budget you put in place, when you use it wisely, your time to market shortens significantly, which might be the cutting edge technology advantage you need to get the market share you're looking for. So always be aware of that. Of course, we now have to talk about the role of leaders here. Innovation culture opens up and closes down by leaders and their behavior towards people in the organization. I give you an example. When you deny that innovation should take place because you're in the mood for it, because you're overwhelmed by your task, because maybe you're a manager and your executive is a horrible person, if any kind of level in the organization shuts down, it means that innovation will be denied by anyone, including in the long run or even in the midterm run, or probably even in the short run, including your clients. I'll give you an example. When Uber, Uber, the ride service, you can book a ride and then you travel somewhere. When Uber started in London, what is London world famous for? For the black caps. You probably have seen them. And then the black cap said, oh, Uber is taking clients away from us, which is straightforward nonsense. Often young people, especially when they went out to a bar, to a pub, or to a club, they didn't use black cabs because these black cabs were way too expensive. So either you were one of the lucky ones, could use a night bus to get home, but when you lived somewhere where no night bus is going, it simply means that you were relying on illegal rides. And these illegal rides were queuing up in front of clubs for cash in the hand, getting you somewhere. And that, of course, was very, very dangerous. Uber closed that gap. It's all tracked. It's all registered. You know who you're going with. You know where you go. Everything can be tracked and shared and seen. It is way more safe and secure. It doesn't mean that it's perfect. Not at all. I don't want to claim that. There were issues, and these issues have been widely fixed. And of course, the other issues come up, and then they have to deal with that. But we have the exact same with the black caps in London. And why did no one say, hey, what is the reason that people turn away from us as soon as one app says we're doing something differently? And it's not only the price point, because Uber has a premium and luxury option as well, which is frequently used. And one of the reasons was that you had to call someone to get a black cab, or you had to hail a cab from the street, and often they didn't stop because they didn't want to take you as a customer. And then sometimes they stopped. You said where you want to go. When the trip was too short or too long, or they didn't appreciate the area, they simply didn't pick you up. And that did not work with Uber. Uber brought you home. So when you think you can deny innovation just by just by not looking at it, that is not a viable option. Leaders need to know disruption today happens quickly. Only when you're in a very non-vulnerable position, it is less likely that due to innovation, something will happen. I just give you an example. Let's say someone wants to join the business of global waste disposal, including, let's say, transport by container, by sea, globally. Probably the entry barrier to get into that business is 50 to 100 million, and then you're still a close to non-existent player. But especially when you have anything that can be done digitally, you only need a couple of motivated people. And as soon as you say, but they don't have money, there are more investors out there than you can think. There's a lot of money on the market and they want to place it somewhere because they know out of 100 investments, only one has to take off. You invest in 100 companies, probably 70 will do okay-ish, probably 28 will go down and not exist anymore, and then you lose the money. Probably 2 of them will go through the roof, and that's where the whole profit comes from. It is very important that you are aware of the fact that your position is in danger when you deny innovation. As a leader, it is your job. To wrap this all up, innovation is a leadership job. If something goes well from the bottom to the top, please praise your employees and pay them accordingly. It is their job. It is, of course, their earning that this happened, that it came from the bottom to the very top level and that the company thrived on that. They have all the right to be compensated accordingly. However, when innovation does not happen, it is always a manager's and executive's fault. Do not blame the employees when the culture in your organization is so toxic, so negative, so closed down on innovation that no one puts an idea forward. What you need is innovation to stay in business and to be one of the companies that evolves in a way that you are able to compete with whatever happens in the future. Open up for innovation, it will pay off very quickly, and I wish you all the best for it. And of course, this might now be very challenging. When you say, hey, I have a million things on my mind, can we just talk? Of course we can. Just send me an email, nb@nb-networks.com. I mentioned my email address also in the show notes of my podcast below. You also find my LinkedIn there. Feel free to connect with me there as well so we can have a chat. Also, feel free to give me feedback. I'm always looking forward to hearing from you. Email address and LinkedIn is mentioned in the show notes of this podcast. Second aspect, when you say, can we talk live? Do you have live sessions? Yes, we do. When you go to expert.nb-networks.com, then you have to register your email address there just once. You get only one email every Wednesday morning. It's 100% content at free guarantee. And every email first gives you access to anything I published at no charge, and it tells you when do we have the next live sessions, including the link to access the live session. So there's no fuss with registering or anything else. It is very important that you see it's just one email, 100% content at free guarantee. And when you say, hey, I have international colleagues, these live sessions are available in English and German, because we have that question quite frequently when people say, oh, they don't speak English too well. Can they speak German? Yes, they can. It's available in English and German. So feel free to join us. We just had a session last week, went very well. Looking forward to seeing you with the next one. But the third aspect is the most important one. Apply what you heard in this podcast, because only when you apply what you heard, you will see the positive aspects coming out of it. And you will see the positive change that you obviously want to have in your organization. I wish you all the best doing so. Let me know if you need any help. I'm available for help 24/7. And at the end of this podcast, there's only one thing left for me to say. Thank you very much for your time.